Hey, Gabriel here, and I'm going to walk you through the 7-figure services plan. It's the best way that I know to get you to $1 million a year and beyond if you've got a business that sells some kind of service. Going to do two things. First, share the phases of the journey and what does the path ahead look like? And then second, what are the key pieces of your marketing and your sales that it's going to take to help you build a multi-7-figure services empire? I've done this for me and I've done this for hundreds of clients over the past 9 years. So stay tuned and I'll show you how it works. And when we get started in a services business, it kind of looks the same for all of us, right? We all start at zero and kind of like climbing a mountain. We start at the beginning of the path and then we work our way up. And there's kind of some key milestones along the way. And I've seen this in my own businesses as well as working with hundreds of clients. And there's an entrepreneur by the name of Hiroshi Mikitani. He's actually the founder of Rakuten. Rakuten is kind of like the eBay, or sorry, not the eBay. I guess it would be more like the Amazon of Japan. Formerly, the company was called Ebates. But Hiroshi made this principle really well known. Reid Hoffman talks a lot about it. He's the founder of LinkedIn. And it's this idea of the law of 3 and 10. And it's really important when it comes to growing a service business because the law of 3 and 10, what Hiroshi has discovered on his way to building a massive empire that he has, is that every time a business triples, everything breaks. Now, I've seen this personally when I was working in the digital marketing space with Strike Point Media. We had a company that we grew from 0 to 25 million a year. And this was absolutely true. When the team tripled in size and revenue tripled in size, we really had to rethink our model. We had to rethink our systems. And that's why when we're building a business like this, a services-based business, there are these kind of milestones. So where do we start out and what are kind of some of those levels along the way? This will help you to figure out, okay, where am I at on this journey and what are my goals? Where do I want to go with this thing? So we all start at zero, in kind of startup phase. And to get to that 10K a month mark is really, we're just getting started. We're just kind of validating the offer. Do we have something that the market actually wants? And do we have the ability to go ahead and sell it? Then once we've done that, maybe we start to stabilize things. And you might be here in this range. I'm assuming most of you, if you're watching this, probably not in the startup phase. If you are, go ahead and check out all of our free content online to go ahead and get that offer validated. But once you've validated your offer, you're making some money in the business. You might have some kind of big swings month to month. But as you approach this kind of 30K a month plus, now you're starting to bring some stability to the business. You probably have a number of clients. It's probably a lot of hard work and hustle, but you at least have some sort of system for going out there, garnering attention and turning that attention into clients. To go from there, and this often is where we see a lot of service providers get stuck kind of right at this line, but then going to the kind of $1 million a year business or 100K plus months, this is where we see you systematize things. Now, you might have a process or a system that you share with your team or that's kind of in your brain, but this is where we actually introduce systems. If you've heard of the book, The E-Myth, talks a lot about building a systems-based business or a turnkey business. This is where you're starting now to systematize things. Going from there, if we want to triple again, so you can see the law of 3 and 10, right? We go from 10K to 30K, 30 to 100. The law of 3 and 10, essentially every time something triples, we need to kind of rethink the model, rethink the business. But getting up to 300K, now this is really where we can scale. So we've got some good systems. Now it's a matter of we've got the engine built. We have everything. We just need more fuel for the engine. So how do we go ahead and scale it? And then for those of you that are looking to kind of build that empire, now we're looking to expand. This might mean multiple locations, expanding into different verticals, expanding your service offering, the team. This is where expansion happens. And all along the way, I want you to plot where you're at now and do some of these things kind of resonate based on where you're at in your business. If you're just getting started, you need to validate the offer. You need to make sure that you can sell something. If you're stuck here in the 30K range, then probably it's due to a lack of systems, or there might be some things that are missing, which we're going to dive into in the rest of this video. But what I've found is at each one of these stages, there are some specific skills or tactics that might be keeping you stuck. I've experienced them. My clients have as well too. So at the beginning, you just have to have some sales skills. Every entrepreneur that I've met has the ability to sell. It's the most important skill in business. Your business is started not when you form your LLC, not when you open the bank account, not when you put up your website. It's when you make a sale to someone. So can you sell? So again, we're going to kind of assume table stakes here that you've already got that ability. Then, for those that get stuck at that 10K mark, I don't see as often. It's usually more of an identity thing than anything. I actually experienced this myself with my first services business. I had a photography studio for the better part of a decade, for actually 2006 to 2016. My wife and I traveled the world, shot some amazing events, incredible venues, incredible clients. And in the beginning of my journey as a photographer, I really just, I thought I was an entrepreneur. I really was more acting just like a freelancer. So I was just kind of a freelancer who was getting paid well to go do a cool job. And once I leaned more into the systems and kind of being an entrepreneur, that's when we were able to break through more. For the clients that we work with that kind of get stuck at this level, and this is probably one of those areas where I see a big bottleneck. So, some people just have a hard time getting out of the gate right from the get. And so if you've been able to validate that and you've gone into business for yourself, major kudos, because that puts you already in the top percentage, the upper echelon of folks, because not everybody is cut out for entrepreneurship. But once you get past that, and maybe you start to stabilize some things, we do see a lot of people bottleneck here at that kind of 30K a month-ish in sales or profit. And usually what that means is there's something that needs to change with the model. Again, you've been able to get to this point really just on kind of hard work and hustle. But now at this point, there's some things that are broken in the model because there's not more time in your day, time in your week to just go ahead and do more of what you've been doing. And you've probably heard this old adage of, what got you here won't get you there. We definitely saw that to be true in Strike Point in the agency when we were growing that business, where we got started by doing project work for clients and working with wealth managers and financial advisors and building websites and funnels and those kind of things. But once we got to a certain point, we realized there's actually not any extra hours in the day. We're going to have to hire a crazy amount of staff, and there's going to be this up and down cycle of going out and getting new jobs every single month. So we really had to rethink the model and find, okay, how can we actually change the model to where our same number of clients, we can actually get more, increased profits, more profit. And what's our system for going and getting those clients that are going to give us more profit to where we can serve them more, provide more value for more profit in exchange? We really had to rethink the model. And this is, again, where most service businesses, I see that kind of first major bottleneck. Then going from, call it 100K a month. So now you're a 7-figure service business. If you're wanting to get now to a couple million, 2, 3, 4 million a year, this typically comes down to traffic source. So you've now got the engine, and maybe you have one channel, but can we scale that channel up? If you're running paid ads, can we run more paid ads? Where does that break down? Are there other channels that we can go to, maybe with SEO, organic, event marketing, you name it. So this is another kind of big bottleneck. And for you, you might be totally happy with, kind of small team. We're going to run 100K a month and that's all that I want. But if you're really looking to scale, then usually this becomes that next bottleneck. And then for those few who are really looking to build kind of an empire, it just comes down to becoming the market leader in your space. And so again, as a service-based business, we all start at zero. We're looking to climb our way up the mountain, right, to reach the summit. And there are kind of some milestones along the way. So where do you see yourself on the journey here? Where would you put yourself kind of on this map? Maybe you're in a spot kind of like Susie and Teddy when they came to work with us. Susie and Teddy were doing just about 20K a month in their dog training business, working out of Susie's family's garden center. So they had this little dog training business. They came to us and we took a look at their model and helped systematize a few things to, pretty quickly within 90 days, go and triple their business from 20K a month to $64,000 a month from then on. Or maybe you're like Cole, where Cole had a consulting business for photographers and had some things going really well in his marketing and social media and was pretty successful already, had done, a couple $100,000 with his offer, but really felt like he was leaving some meat on the bone. And so we ran some campaigns and took a look at some specific spots in his funnel. I look at a lot of businesses that have what I call leaky bucket syndrome, where there was already plenty of leads and attention within the business. We just needed to do a better job of turning those leads and that attention into revenue. And we did, as you can see, more than $700,000, $772,000 in less than a week. Or, maybe you're like my buddy Chris. Chris is incredibly successful in his own right, is a published author and speaker. You can see here he's masterminding and interviewing with some of the biggest names out there, Mike Tyson, Robert Herjavec, Saquon Barkley. And Chris is kind of a renaissance man, where he's author, speaker, has been a pastor, run his own businesses, and is now also an investor, invests in early stage startups before they even ever go public. And Chris is really looking for that next level, that significance of building an empire, which is why he came to work with us. All right. Hey, sorry to interrupt the training, but just real quick, if you've already seen enough and you want to find out what it would be like to work together, just go ahead and send me a message over on Instagram. It's at Gabriel Ryan, and just use the word coach. Maybe that could be our special keyword. Just send me a message with the word coach. That way I'll know you've seen this video, and I'll send you a quick doc with all the details of what it looks like to work together. So do that, and I'll see you soon. All right. So now that we know what the phases of the journey look like, we just need to answer, what are the jobs to be done? What's the work that we actually need to do in the business to climb the mountain and get to the summit, to where we have a multiple 7-figure a year service business empire? Well, there's 3 things that our clients want. And if you're like us and our clients, you probably want the same thing. The first is, we just want to make more money. We want to increase revenue in the business. That could be sales, profits, overall more revenue. At the same time, we want to get back our time. We want to buy back our time. You probably have a great work ethic, and I would assume love the work that you do. Otherwise, you probably wouldn't be doing it. But ultimately, there are other aspects of life that we want to invest our time into. Just like Chris, he travels the world and is speaking on stages and wants to build this empire. But really, his greatest asset, the thing that he loves the most, is his family. He's a family guy. He literally wrote the book on marriage and family with his wife. And so he wants that time back. And you probably do too. And the last thing, we want to make sure that the work that we're doing actually helps people. We want to help more people. We want to have impact, right? So what do we do at Growth Map? We help you make more in your business, buy back your time, and help more people. If we can do those 3 things, then we know we have been successful. And really, in order to do that, there are 2 jobs that must be done, that your business must accomplish in order to have this service business empire where you have more money, more time, and more impact. The first one is, you need to capture attention. Your business has to be able to capture the attention of your market. You need to increase reach, visibility. There's a bunch of people who are strangers who don't know who you are. We need to get you and your business and your offering in front of them. And then secondly, we got to convert that attention. So it's one thing to make a bunch of noise and have a bunch of people know who you are. They see your ads, your billboards, your social media, you name it. But if we don't turn that attention into leads and conversations and sales, then we don't end up with any more of this. We don't end up with more money or more time or more impact. So we have to be able to capture attention and convert attention. But what we often see when we dive under the hood of most businesses is they've got a couple of problems. One, you've got poor lead flow. So if lead flow is not consistent, predictable, if it's lacking, maybe the quality is lacking in those leads, then it's going to be difficult, right, to then do anything with that attention. And then secondly, there's leaks in sales. Again, we call this leaky bucket syndrome, where maybe you've got good lead flow and there's leads coming into the business like there was with Cole, but there were leaks in sales, which is why, sometimes this can even be more detrimental because cash flow and sales can mask the problem sometimes. And Cole didn't realize it, but he was leaving about $500,000 on the table with every major promotion that he ran, which was made obvious once we went from doing, $200,000 launches to over $700,000 launches. So if you've got poor lead flow, leak in sales, one or both of those, we're going to have issues building that service business empire. So what do we do about it? What does this look like when it's done? I'm a big fan of, I call it my DTW, or define the win strategy. We need to know, okay, well, what would need to be true in the business for us to feel like we're winning or succeeding? What would need to be true 30, 60, 90 days from now, 12 months from now, 2 years from now, 10 years from now? What would need to be true in order for us to be winning? So on the lead side, well, we have leads every day. How do we get leads every day coming into our business? If that were true, then great. We know that our attention system, we're able to capture attention. And then on the sales side, we've got consistency in sales. We don't have the crazy swings, the ups and the downs. Now, depending upon your business, there might be seasonality, but there's consistency and predictability in your sales. And ultimately, when we have these two things, when we're able to capture attention really well, convert that attention, we have leads every day, we have consistency in sales, you're able to buy back your time. And that, we can always go make more money. We can't go make more time. Now, we can make our time worth more and we can get more value out of our time, but we can't get it back. And so that's kind of the most valuable thing that we can do. The most valuable asset that we can create is help you to get your time back. And if you've done any reading at all, which I would assume you have, definitely this one on the left, the E-Myth Revisited, was the first business book that a mentor handed to me before I started my first ever services business. And what I've learned over the years is that successful entrepreneurs build the system and the system builds the business. So you've probably heard of the idea of, work on your business, not just in it. And especially when it comes to service providers, we're so connected in with our work. When I was a photographer, and that's what I talk about with the kind of the identity of the freelancer versus the entrepreneur mindset, I was so wrapped up in my work of being an excellent photographer. And that even had to do with the relationships I had with my clients, but so busy working in the business, I didn't work on the business with the systems. And it wasn't until actually I read the E-Myth and hired an E-Myth coach and worked with them for my whole first year, where I actually understood what it looked like to build a systems-based business. And ever since then, I never looked back. So then the question is, well, what does the system look like? What is that system? So you may have heard us kind of throw around the idea or the word acquisition system, your customer acquisition system. So I want you to think of it in the same way that you think of the human body, right? The human body is made up of multiple systems. You've got your skeletal system. You have your cardiovascular system. You might have your nervous system. You've got all of these different systems, but all of those systems together make up you and who you are. In the very same way, your business is a system. And we talked about a couple of these systems that are really important, right? Being able to capture attention and convert attention. So what I've found over the years is there are 5 smaller systems, kind of like the cardiovascular, the musculoskeletal system that make up the body. There's 5 smaller systems that make up your overall acquisition system, that when you have these things in place and they're firing on all cylinders and working really, really well, you end up with more money, more impact, and more time. So what are those? The first is really important. And as you can see here at the bottom, we've got, the customer journey. So imagine your clients who, in the beginning, they don't know who you are. They're strangers. And then all of a sudden they see a billboard or an ad, or one of your past clients refers, talks about you at a cocktail party or at a dinner or through a text. You need some way of getting people's attention. And so this system is your traffic system. Your traffic system is the one that helps to get attention. It turns strangers into lurkers, strangers into people now who actually know about you. You're increasing your visibility, you're increasing your reach. But just having more attention is not enough. Attention does not pay the bills. Attention does not give you any more time back. So what we need to do is we need to get those people, when we have their attention, how do we get them to raise their hand? How do we get them to reach out, to fill out a form on your website, to respond to an ad, to call into your business? Well, we want them to raise their hand, and that's done with our lead gen system. So the traffic system and the lead gen system, they sit on the capture attention side of things. Those are the two core systems that help you turn strangers into lurkers and ultimately into leads. But again, leads don't pay the bills. Where do sales happen? Well, sales happen in conversations. And whether that's literally in a one-on-one call, a one-to-many, a group call, maybe it happens over email or through some marketing. But regardless, there's a conversation that is happening between your business and you and your market and your leads. And so how do we actually get those leads to engage in conversation, to reply to our emails and our texts and our calls, and to actually respond? Well, that's done with our engagement system. So the engagement system is a really critical piece. And this, these systems here in the middle is often where I see that kind of leaky bucket syndrome. Now, plenty of people will come into your world. They are ready to buy right away. I can tell you actually just a little over a month and a half ago, our air conditioning unit went out in our house. And I can tell you immediately, I had a problem that I did not have the day before, and I was ready to solve it right away. So when I ended up going through the HVAC company's acquisition system, when I got here and I raised my hand and said, hey, I need some help, I was ready to buy right away. But we know for a lot of businesses, that's not the majority of the leads that come into your world. Maybe 3 to 5, 10%, maybe tops if you're really, really good, of your leads are ready to buy right now, right away. That leaves 90+% of your audience, of your leads, that are probably just leaking out. You're leaving money on the table if you can't speak to their beliefs. Because every prospect, every lead comes in with some baggage, some sales baggage, some disbelief about what it is that you sell, what it is that you do, what it is that you can do for them. And so we need to, in our acquisition system, need to be able to speak to those beliefs, speak to that disbelief before we ever end up on a call or in face-to-face, or before they ever end up on our sales page. And we do that with the nurture system. This is probably by far and away the most ignored system in most service businesses, but is one of the most critical, because you can imagine out of 100 leads, if 5 to 10 of them are what we call high intent and are ready to buy right now, well, what are you doing with the other 90? This nurture system will make sure that you take care of every single lead that comes into your system, so that you can serve more people, make more money, get more of your time back. And then finally, once someone is ready to buy, we need to enroll them into our offer. And that is done with our sales system. So these 3 systems right here, the engagement system, nurture system, and sales system, are all part of how you convert attention. So remember, we need to do 2 things. We need to capture attention, and we need to convert that attention. In order to do that, we've got these 5 systems in place, and chances are you already have pieces of this in each one of these. But the question is, how effective are they? And we're going to get to that here in just a second, because ultimately we want to take strangers and turn them into clients in cash. And we do that through our acquisition system. All right. So in a second, what I want to do is I actually want to walk you through a tool that I've created. It's called the Clarity Compass. That'll help us dive into your business and look at these 5 different systems to figure out exactly where you need to make your next move to climb the ladder, climb the mountain, get closer to that service business empire that you're wanting to create. But first, I want to talk a little bit about Brandon. Want to share about Brandon. He's over here on the far left. Brandon has a family business. He gets to do this thing with the people he loves the most, which is great. Comes with its own challenges, but also its own benefits. And what Brandon does is he and his family help homeowners build the pool of their dreams and save $30,000 to $40,000 in the process, because they're actually able to do it themselves and be their own kind of general contractor. And when Brandon came to us, he had that acquisition system in place and had a lot of things that were working really well for him, but realized that he was wanting to go kind of to that highest rung and building an empire, and realized there were some things that he needs to do to become the market leader and really focus on some of the systems. And so again, depending upon where, like, you could be at any different level in your service-based business, as long as you've already validated your offer, maybe you have some traffic coming into your business, there are levels to this game, but it's applying the same ideas. It's the same acquisition system regardless. It's just figuring out, okay, remember the law of 3 and 10, as things grow, just knowing that something is going to break. So having a process to assess that and figure out what we need to fix next, which is exactly what we're going to get into now with the Clarity Compass. So this is a tool that I created to go through with our clients, and I want to do this with you if that would be okay. So what we're going to do here just in the next 3-4 minutes is we're going to take a quick scan of the entire business and actually give each piece of your acquisition system a grade. I'm sure we all have seen kind of the red, yellow, green light, a traffic light, right? If you've been driving for any length of time, I'm just now teaching my oldest, my 15-year-old, soon to be 16-year-old son how to drive, and pray for us. He's doing a phenomenal job, by the way, but any parents that have ever taught a child to drive, you probably feel me here. But we need to teach them, okay, what does red, yellow, and green mean? And no, yellow does not mean go full throttle and try to blast through the intersection. Yellow means slow down. But we're going to give a grade to each one of these parts of the system. So what I want you to do is on a sheet of paper, whether you draw this out or just list the names of the systems, and we're going to give a grade to each one of these. So let's start with your traffic system. So your traffic system, again, remember, is not how we generate leads, it's how we get attention. So do you have a specific channel that you can on demand go and get more attention from, or are you just relying on word of mouth referrals that come in inconsistently? Now, you could be relying on referrals, and if you're driving that traffic by frequently going out and asking for those referrals, maybe from industry partners and things, then maybe you've got a green light or a yellow light there, but you know that there's more opportunity. So what does red, yellow, green look like with the traffic system? Red would mean you're just kind of dealing with whatever comes in as it comes in. Yellow maybe means you have kind of a trickle of leads. Maybe it's not super consistent, or you know that you could be going to other channels. Maybe you want to go to paid ads, or you want to be doing something with SEO or organic. So you're going to pick one of these. Let's say traffic is, maybe we'll just call this a yellow, right? We're like, okay, we've got some attention, we've got some visibility coming into the business, but we know that we could be doing a better job. Now, on the lead gen side, what's the reason why someone would raise their hand? Is it simply just to reach out to book a sales call, to book a demo or consult or an evaluation, or just maybe get an estimate from you? Now, if you actually have lead magnets, you have other reasons why someone might reach out. Maybe you provide a free assessment. Brandon with DIY Pools and Spas, he has this really cool calculator that will show you how much it would cost to build your pool and how much you could save if you do it on your own. So if you've got those kinds of things for reasons for people to reach out, then maybe that's a green. If you have really no lead flow whatsoever, maybe that's a red. So let's say that lead flow is going to be a green here. Okay. Now let's move over to the engagement system. Once we have those leads, how good are we at getting them to reply? One of the most important factors in the success of turning a lead into a sale is something we call speed to lead. And the stats show that if you take more than 5 minutes to get back to a brand new lead, the chance of them ever becoming a client drops off a cliff. Chance of conversion goes significantly down. And so just that one thing alone, hey, within the first 2 to 4 minutes, are we reaching out to these leads, giving them an easy way to respond to us? Are we getting leads actually responding to our emails and our text messages and our calls and things? How effective is that system? Is that red, yellow, or green? Let's say this one's a red. I do see this with a lot of service businesses where, the average, you might get back to some of your leads quickly, or you might have some kind of chat bot or something like that's going. But for the most part, maybe on nights and weekends, leads aren't getting responded to, or there are times where it might take 30 minutes, an hour, a couple hours, or even shoot a day or more to get back to leads. That would definitely be a red. Now the nurture system is, okay, what are we doing with all of the leads in our CRM, in our pipeline that don't buy from us right away? What sort of content are we sharing with them? Do we have really compelling content, testimonials and things that we're sharing that we're putting in front of them to help speak to that disbelief that maybe they have, that where they don't trust the business yet. They don't trust your process. They don't trust themselves with the ability to get the result that they're after. So what are you doing on, with those leads to keep them engaged that haven't necessarily bought yet? Let's say this one's a yellow too. And then we've got the sales system. So once you have someone in front of you and they booked an appointment, what's your appointment reminder series like? Are you just sending out reminders of the date and time of that appointment, or are you using that opportunity of the booking to then send them testimonials and additional content that will speak to some of those beliefs so they come into that appointment primed and ready to buy? What's your sales script look like? And I'm not as big of a fan of scripts as I am conversation flows, but still, we create like a script doc, which essentially is a conversation flow so that you can be systematic in the way that you handle every single sales appointment. And ultimately, what does that look like in terms of your conversion rates of, leads that book appointments through to becoming clients? Is that a red, yellow, or green? Let's say this is green. And I feel like a lot of service businesses are really good at this because you have to be good at sales to get started. But, whatever it is for you, you don't need to follow my colors here. I want to make sure that you are putting in the color for each one of these systems that you feel intuitively matches kind of where you're at with your business right now. And then lastly, we've got these other two components where every system is made up of a few different pieces. It's made up of the content. It's made up of the automations and workflows, the things that are happening automatically, and it's made up of your processes, your standard operating procedures or SOPs, the things that the people, the team, you and your team are doing when a new lead comes in. When does your office staff go ahead and call out a new client? When are they following up with people? What are the things that they need to do behind the scenes to manage schedules and things? So those are the three pieces of a system. Again, it's here. Let me just write this down here because I think this is super important, because a lot of times people ask me, what, Gabriel, like what actually goes into a system? And you have three essentially ingredients. You've got the content, you've got the automation / AI, and you have the process or SOPs. There we go. So you have content, automation, and the AI process. Those are the three parts that make up a system. And why this is important is because this content piece is huge. Content is one of the few ways that you can get leverage in business. I can record this video one time and share it with an infinite number of potential clients and prospects, just like you can record a testimonial or write an email to send out every single time that somebody books an appointment with you. And how effective is that piece of content is really the question. So what I want you to do is now I want you to grade as well too the two different kinds of content in your system. The first would be your attention generating assets. An attention generating asset is, for example, an ad, maybe a Facebook ad or an Instagram ad that you're running, or a video ad. It might be a billboard. It might be the wrap on your truck. It might be a blog post, or actually your website would be an attention generating asset, especially if you're focusing on SEO. So how effective are your attention generating assets, that particular content? Let's say that this is, I'm going to say like maybe this is a red. Then your attention converting assets, those are the things that you use after somebody raises their hand. So after they raise their hand, what are the videos and emails and content that you are sending that lead in order to get them to book an appointment with you, in order to get them to show up to that appointment, and not just show up to that appointment, but show up ready to buy? Okay, maybe this is a green, and you do a really good job once you have somebody who's raised their hand. So check it out. Now we've got a map. Some may call it a growth map of your business, a 3D scan of what we can kind of leave be for now with the greens, right? And maybe what we might want to focus on. So, thanks, by the way, for going through this with me. What you just did is kind of a big deal. The first step to solving any problem is always going to be getting clear on specifically what is the problem that we're trying to solve. And most entrepreneurs don't actually take the time to get specific about the problems in their business, because if we're being honest, leads is not a problem. Sales is not a problem, but maybe, getting attention is, or getting leads to book a call, or getting those appointments to actually show up to the call. Now, those are specific problems that can actually be solved, right? And now you've got some clarity because you have some greens, right? You've got some yellows, you've got some reds. So if there were 3 levers that we could pull, 3 systems that we could install over the next, call it 30, 60, 90 days, that would make the biggest difference, what are those 3? I want you to kind of either, circle them, just kind of circle them, just like I'm doing here, whatever the 2 or 3 are for you that would make the biggest difference. And guess what we've just done? We have just identified the constraint. And behind each one of these are a set of tools and systems and a set of playbooks that you can install and plug and play to get results in your business. So regardless of where you're at on this map, regardless of what's yellow or red or green, there are some strategies, some tactics, some tools and proven playbooks that we can install in your service business, which, just to give you a little glimpse, and it's not to overwhelm you, but to show you, like, there's a whole grab bag of playbooks, strategies, tools, and tactics that we use when we are working with clients that directly connect to each one of these, depending upon what's red, yellow, or green for you. So if you want to find out more about working with me, just send me a message on Instagram. Use the word coach, ideally all caps. That way it'll be our little word that'll let me know that you've seen this video and kind of know a little bit about what it's about. And I'll just send you the details of what it's like to work with us. There's no funnel. You don't need to book a sales call. I'll just send you the information in a doc. You can read through it and get a sense for, hey, if this is for me, you'll know what to do. And if it's not, I wish you the very, very best. Cool. All right. So you know what to do. If this has been useful, send me a message with the word coach on Instagram, and I'll see you in my inbox.